What's going on YouTube? My name is Mr. Crippled, and today I'm going to be bringing you my OB8 tier list video. And before we really get into it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to keep up with any future content, I will be leaving a link to my Twitch and my Discord in the description below. Now, this tier list, it is still a little early. This is just my first real impressions. I'll probably do an update to this video probably sometime down the road after the next big patch, especially with Guan Yu coming out in a couple weeks. And with Agni's aspect coming out, that's kind of going to change where he's placed. But I'll go ahead and talk all about that right now. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Achilles, very first god. Instantly, he's going into S. I actually do agree with Weekend on this. He was already very strong, possibly like A or bottom of S when the last patch was out. But with the new patch, how tanky gods are, how they kind of took pen away from a lot of characters, so you kind of have to sacrifice. Do you want to kill the tanky? You want to kill the squishy? Him just doing as much damage as he does with the insane amount of survivability and execute, he's probably the best tank in the game. If you play him as a jungle, which he's still viable in, he's probably more like A tier, but as a full-on tank, solo support, he's definitely going to be S. Agni, I personally think he's A, especially with the aspect coming out. After seeing what it can actually do, the amount of burst you can do, and how much damage he actually pumps out. I think with the aspect, he definitely deserves to be an A. However, without that, if I'm not being completely biased, I do think he does belong somewhere in B tier. Aladdin, definite A. I can't put him in S because he does have some weaknesses, being that he can, it's really rough to play him into people with cripples, and right now, Poseidon, Ares, they're both really good, and because those cripples stop him from basically using half of his kit, it kind of puts him down a little bit, but that doesn't necessarily take away anything from Aladdin himself, because he still is a very strong character and very hard to play into, but his early game and the counter picks that he has kind of regularizes him out, but he's definitely still worth a pick. Amaterasu, I'm not a big believer in her too much anymore. I still think she hits really hard outside in the jungle, and I still think she hits hard in solo. But with everything changed and not being able to build so many cards, that just kind of gives her everything she needs, and she actually needs to build kind of tanky or has to build into attack speed to actually be viable. I do think that does hurt her a bit. I think she's B. I think she's worse than Agni. Honestly, Agni just does more, just can offer more with a more quick stun without having to rely on the ult and better poke. So I think he deserves to. I think she deserves to be here. On her, recently saw a buff in this patch. I liked where it went. I don't think it helped him too much. However, it does help him in a 1v1 scenario, but it doesn't help his clear. It didn't help his overall, not necessarily late game presence, because late game he still does what he's supposed to do as a hunter. But there's just other hunters that can just do what he does better as far as being reliable to the entirety of the team. And you do have to work harder with this god than most of the other carries. I think he's right about here. Anubis. It's weird talking about Anubis because Anubis as a character isn't all that solid. I'll be just straight. He's not that good base. But lifesteal currently is very strong. I can't say it's broken because honestly, not a lot of characters in the roster right now can take advantage of how strong lifesteal really is in the game right now. Anubis being the prime example, because technically speaking, he should do the best with lifesteal, and he doesn't. So, and plus he does have his base issues where he can't clear without conduit. He needs lifesteal, but he also needs CDR. But now getting CDR can cost him pen and power. So it's weird placing him. I think as a character he's like C. I don't think he's really the that strong. Aphrodite, still probably one of the best supports in the game to me. Can be extremely tanky. Very good early game pressure. Has a really good heal. Get out of jail free card with the ult. And with Akali, Princess Bari, and Aphrodite shell, it's very hard to kill that team. So just off that team alone, I think she's S. Ares, solid A. I think he's viable in most situations. All of the characters besides Poseidon right now, he plays really well into because of his aspect. Without the aspect, he's more B, but with that aspect, because he has a stun and a slow with a cripple, and then the ultimate that can burn beads as well. He's just really valuable as a god right now. Excuse me. He's just very valuable as a god right now. I think he's right here. Artemis. How do I put this with Artemis? I still think she's solid. Um, but I think her spot got taken. Because why she was so good is that she had very good poke. She had pretty decent sustain. She had an amazing team fighting ultimate. And she has a attack speed stim, and not a lot of gods in the game have that right now, so her value went up. But with Poseidon's new aspect, I'll go ahead and rate Poseidon. I think he's here. I think he's broken. I don't think he's fair to play into at all, and I think he's definitely worth bans right now. I don't think he's like top 5 or anything like that. I think he's bottom of S, but he's just way too strong right now. But comparatively speaking, her role got taken by Poseidon. And Poseidon has better movement speed. He has a better stim because it actually gives him extra power. He has better clear, better poke. The only thing that he suffers from that Artemis does have that's better is a CC immune ult that can stun an entire team. I think that's where Artemis has the biggest advantage when it comes to Poseidon, but everywhere else, Poseidon slaps. So I think Artemis is right here in A. I think she's still definitely viable, but I don't think she's as strong as she used to be. Up next, Athena. I think she's C. She's good, but her cooldowns are way too long. The ultimate's fine, but it's still the same issues from Smite 1. And she overall just doesn't do as much damage, and closing distance with her, she can't be the aggressor and the protector at the same time comparatively to some other gods. And if she misses anything in her kit, your entire team is in trouble for about 10 to 15 seconds, which is horrible. A Willix, I don't see her a lot anymore since the nerf. I think she's still okay. She definitely doesn't do as much damage as she used to. I don't think that necessarily makes her bad anymore because a lot of gods still have leaps. There's a lot of guys that still have knockups that she could take advantage of. She is still very evasive if you know how to time her Q properly. And she's still one of the faster junglers in the game base without anything extra because of Suku. I think she's A. I still think she's viable. So I think she deserves to be right here. Bacchus, B. Yeah. Yeah, he's right here. Bacchus is one of those characters where, like, he should be better than what it seems like because his kit gives him extra protections, it gives him extra power. He has a knockup, he has a stun, and he has a self-heal, while also having a passive that gives him damage reduction and an ultimate that does a lot of damage, gives him more power, and trembles the enemy god. So on paper, he should be good, but the knockup is very minimal. In reality, you're really only going to be hitting one person at a time with that ult. In reality, you're only really going to be hitting one person at a time with that knockup. And the knockup is the best part about him, but the stun takes way too long to come out. It doesn't do enough damage. He's shut down very easy by other CC, so you have to rely on the belly flop that can only really hit one person, and God forbid you miss. So I think Bacchus is B. I think he needs some buffs. I don't know what kind of buffs he necessarily needs to make him better, because as a character, he's just okay. I think a good buff for Bacchus right now to kind of put him back towards A and possibly S is being able to cancel the 3 and instantly being able to get the stun at the cost of reduced scaling. You know what I'm saying? But then I think that will make him a little bit too strong because then he'll have an instant stun and a knockup. That's just speculation. Something that I think that would be nice for him, but I do definitely think he deserves some buffs. Baron, really good, really decent support. Kind of okay mid, kind of decent solo. Can't really take advantage of lifesteal all that much. Still pretty strong because he does hit hard. He does have a root. But I'm not a believer in Baron. I don't think he's all that. There's just, as a healer goes, he's okay, and admittedly Cupid kinda does better than him in that aspect, but he's just a sitting duck. He can't really offer anything to the team besides utility, and the utility may be nice, but it's not necessarily game-changing. So I don't think he's C tier, but I do think he's like bottom of B. Bellona. For some reason, Bellona is kind of strong right now. I think it's because her card got buffed with Berserkers, making it to where you get more benefits from being tanky, and Bellona, while being tanky and being able to swing at you, while you also can't auto her back, and then when you can hit her, she gets a crap ton of protections from Berserker because she built like a tank with attack speed. I think she's good. I think she's an A. I think she's like right here. No, oh, like right here. I think she's closer to B, but I think she's right about here. Um, Actually, you know what? I don't think she's better than a Willix, but she definitely deserves to be right here. She's viable. A bracket. I've never seen a character that's so viable and unviable at the same time. Because really good stuns, a wall that can block people off, you can't slow him, you can't root him. Does incredible amounts of damage. Very, very tanky. He's stupid strong at the same time. He just has trouble closing distance, but I don't think that's really a bad thing per se, because you can get Blink, you can get Stampede, you can get something that can slow them. You know, there's a lot of things that you could use. And with the buff that he got, giving him extra damage mitigations to himself in that aura that he projects is actually insane. You know what? I think he's top of A. I think he's like right here. Cerberus. Bottom of B. Bottom of B. I can't give him C here because he does have a slow and he does have an ultimate that can change team fights, but he lacks a lot of CC, he lacks a lot of sustain, really only plays good into comps that have a lot of healing. His aspect is more C tier to me, but as a character as a whole, I think he's B. Cernunos. Very strong damage right now. I think he uses the crit build very well, especially since he does have a slow protection shred and power. Does have really decent lifesteal. I think he takes advantage of the quote unquote new meta build for hunters. But no, because he does have a good team fighting ult too and a root. Yeah, right about here. Right about here. Chalk, stupid. Stupid. Still stupid. Just outside of S, because at the end of the day, I want to give him S, but I feel like that's my bias talking, so I'm putting him in A just to save face. Cupid, B. He got nerfed, and the nerf wasn't warranted, but he's B. Right about here. He's better than On Her because he has 2 stuns. He does 2 stuns, a great team fighting ultimate that does have a little bit of sustain on it, and some self-heal, but the heal does less damage. Which it should have in the first place. But he, as a base character, he's just not all of that. I'm sorry. Someone's going to have to prove to me and show me that Cupid deserves to be an A or Cupid doesn't deserve to be in B, or show me how he deserved those nerfs in the first place, because I just don't see it. Don's, kind of the same. He's B tier to me. He does hit really hard, and the clones are nice, and he does shred objectives really well. But you know, with the aspect, he's like B. Without the aspect, it's base kit. I think he's closer up here. Yeah, you know, I'll put him right here because Danza does have a really good ultimate, but you can't use it as Twitch. You got to use it as an engager, or hope to God you can get out before you die with the ultimate. Very much lack of mobility. The invis with the leaf, yeah, it gets some people sometimes, but in reality, it's really not that good. If you lock him down with like tick damage, or you stop missing before he leaves the little circle, and you stay on top of him, he really can't get away from you. So the only saving grace is that he does have that taunt in base form, which does give him more CC outside of the ult. And I think both the aspect and the versions are viable. I think the aspect version is closer to down here though, because I do think it's necessarily worse than the other aspect. Just makes him easier. The aspect just makes him easier to play. But as a character, if you use him as a base kit, he's right about here. Fenrir, C tier. I think he's one of the. I just think he's bad. As a support, as a tanky god, he's more like right here, because that slow is kind of massive, and he does get a lot of protections off of it. The lifesteal he gives to his team with the attack speed is kind of nice. And if he's tanky, he's meant to be right here. But again, Poseidon, Gabrakan, Ares, Sobek. There's just way too many people who could just say, hey, no, you don't get to play the game anymore, Fenrir. So As an assassin, he's like one of the worst in the game. As a tank, he's like B. Geb, I think he's like right here. Now, I put him in C not because I think he's bad. I think he's actually very strong, and he's still one of the harder hitting gods in the game. Here's the problem. The shield is okay, but there's too many things in the game that gets rid of shield, so him already gets hurt by that. The knockup is nice, which is the best part of his kit, and the ultimate is nice, but he just lacks how am I gonna put this? Yeah, you know what? I'm being stupid. I don't agree. I think he's like up here somewhere, maybe in B. Yeah. Yeah, he's better than Bobcats. He's right here. Hades. See. Yeah. See. Yeah, I hate Hades as a character, but he's not that good right now. I had to admit, he's not that good. Hecate. I actually think Hecate is doing pretty well right now. I don't know what it is, but her aspect is doing a lot better. Her base kit is still very strong. She can hit pretty hard. She does have a pretty considerable skill ceiling, but I think it might actually be worth it to play her now. Yeah, I think she's right here. Herc, same thing. Got some really good buffs. Does a lot of damage. Lots of damage mitigations. Was already really strong, and he's kind of hard to kill. He's kind of up there with Chalk. He just has less sustain. The cooldowns are a little bit longer. But I think he's viable too. I think he's A. Mulan. I'm not a believer in this character. I don't think she's all that good. I don't believe her in her solo. I don't believe her in her jungle. I definitely don't believe her in her support. So, yeah. Yeah, she's like right here. Moon bots. Still a great ult. Stun bots for a solo lane is still really strong because he has 2 forms of CC. So you can build him straight up tanky. You can also... He's still okay in the jungle if you use his base kit rather than his aspect, which is what they wanted you to do in the first place. But... where I think this character kind of falls short is that the casting time on his 2 still does take a very long time. And even though the move is huge, you can a player that's really paying attention can stop you from doing it if you don't already use your kit. So he does have a way to stop him from just steamrolling, and the ultimate is great to kind of like pair with it. He's definitely better than Fenrir by a mile. Definitely better than Fenrir by a mile. I think he's like right about here. Izanami. Right here. Jingwei, crit's really strong right now. I don't really know how to feel about her because she's still not all that, and her clear still definitely suffers. But with crit being as good as it is right now, at least decently speaking, with crit being as good as it is right now, she does have a little bit better spot, but I'm still not a really big believer in her. I do think she's better than Izanami and on her, but I don't know if she's better than Cupid or anybody else that's above her. So I'll put her here. Kali, free S. One of the best gods in the game. I think she's probably the second or the best god in the game right now. She is fucking broken. Like, it doesn't... I don't under... All I have to say is a 3 that hits for 1,000. With a stun. A stim stun that hits for 1,000. Please make it make sense. Khepri, kind of in the same boat as Gep. If he can get ahead and kind of get steamrolling, he is very viable. The problem is that he's going to lose lane with the duo. He's just going to straight up lose lane. He's not going to be able to outclear anybody else in front of him. He's not going to outclear the Geb. He's not going to outclear the Kabrakan. He's not going to outclear the Sobek. He's not going to outclear the Hercules. He's just not doing it. He's not doing it. But if he does manage to have a really good communication with his teammate and manages to rotate better and just basically you just had to be the better support player to get a lot of mileage out of him. But somebody who's just a little bit under you but playing a better support is going to make the Khepri's life a lot harder. Plus, being able to know who to put your ult on, even as good as it is, It's too situational. Not the fact that the ult is bad, but there's too many situations where you need to be able to protect the entirety of the team. And let's say you save the person who's kind of like, let's say you save the Kali, right? Let's say you save the Kali, but the Kali doesn't die because she still has her ultimate. Now you wasted your ultimate trying to save her, and then now your mid's dead. You know what I'm saying? Like there's too much that can go wrong with the character that other characters don't have that issue with. Kokokin. Now that Book of Thoth doesn't have pen on it, it does hurt him quite a bit, honestly. Him being able to just have natural pen at the beginning of the game and all that extra power is what made him very strong. Now that it just gives a little bit more power and some mana, he does get a bigger power spike, but he suffers more against tankier gods. So, but he is still very viable in the fact that he, unlike other mages, he can still play very, very safe. He does have an ult that hits very, very hard. He does have a slow, and he does have a really good get off me tool again with the ultimate. So, and plus with the new card, I think he does do the best with it. So, I think he's viable. I think he's A. I still think he's better than Hecate. I think he's right about here. Loki. Let me not be biased. Loki is annoying and definitely a very strong jungle. Still very viable, but he can't carry games as hard as he used to. I still think he's really strong. I think he's top of B. I think he's like right about here. If any of these characters get nerfed, he's instantly going to A. Medusa. On console, when you can't turn as fast, I think she's like top, like right around top of B. If you have a PC or you're just used to reacting to her ultimate, she's like down here. Merlin. I'm not a believer in Merlin. I still think he's not that good. I don't think he's trash anymore. Honestly, I don't think he's trash anymore. The Merlin hate is stopping. But I don't think that makes him all that great because he just requires way too much. He just does. So, he's definitely still better than all of these people here now. But I think where he stops is here. This is where he stops. This is his cap. I don't... Even with the aspect on. With the aspect on, maybe you could argue that he's like A, maybe. But he's not... He doesn't do enough damage. He takes way too long to get online. Now that the cards kind of got shuffled around, he isn't hitting as hard as he used to, except he has... well, he's hitting squishies harder, but now it's even harder for him to kill tanks. And, again, 20-second dash. 20 seconds. You had to spend 15 to 20 minutes babysitting him as the jungler or the support just so he can kind of be helpful. And then once late game comes along, he's going to be kind of viable because he can pump out damage. And admittedly safely across the wall, which is valuable. But he has to wait all the way until 25 to 30 minutes into the game. You want somebody that can shoot over walls and still do a lot of damage? Vulcan. Agni. You want somebody who can harass you with a bunch of abilities? Again, Vulcan, Hecate, Poseidon. You want somebody with a good team fighting? Oh, he don't got that. You want somebody with a good stim or protection shred? Well, you got Poseidon or somebody like who has a good protection shred in their kit. I don't think anybody actually has a protection shred as a mage, but still, either way, technically Baron, but either way, Merlin is he's solid, but he's not that great. Mordred, definitely up there with the best. Yeah, definitely up there with the best. He still does a lot of damage. He's still very tanky. He still can carry a game. He does struggle again with people like Ares or Poseidon, not because they're better per se. Yeah, I think I'll still put him above Ares. He still struggles in matchups that have like a lot of cripples because then he can't do his charge cancels, which is still very important to him. But he's still really strong. I think he's in a very solid spot. Neith, one of the best and the best hunter in the game, one of the best mages in the game, funny enough. Stupid amounts of damage, and she got buffed, so now she can one-shot you. She can one-shot you with her 2 and her backflip. Please, high-res. Please. The brain-dead easy characters do not need to be one-shotting people like this. Please. Nemesis. C tier. Just Not that good. Maybe you could argue B. Maybe you can argue B like right about here, but I don't think she's good at all. With the aspect, maybe she does shoot up to B, like right about here. So with aspect, she's B. Without aspect, she's C. Nuwa! I'll admit, she's not that good right now, so she deserves to be right here. Odin! Still very tanky, and with tanks being as strong as they are, and with healing being as good as it is, his ult is very invaluable. So even though I think he's not as amazing as he used to be, I do think he's like right about here. Pele! Lifesteal is very crazy, and she is the best example of it. She doesn't get as much damage from what I learned is that there was actually a bug with her Hydra's proc where if you keep constantly turning her 3 on and off, she gets more damage. So now that that's been fixed, she's not as strong as she used to be, but she still does hit hard. She still has a good ultimate, and she has a lot of lifesteal, and with lifesteal cards being better now, I think she shoots up. I think she's A. I do think she's better than like a Willix and Artemis. Actually I think she's like right about here. I think that's where she deserves to be. Princess Bari. With the Kali Aphrodite comp, she's S. Without it, she's still A. Top of A. Just outside of S. And the only reason that she's just outside of S, the only reason, is that... Actually, I can't even say that her clear is met, and I can't even say that her escape is met, because she can still get locked down, but that's why she has that ult. I think that's what's really holding her back. Nah, she's bottom of S. She's right here. Raw! Right here. Especially with the aspect, right about here. With the aspect, he's right here. Without the aspect, he still hits hard. I think he just deserves to be right about here. And not one of those characters I don't think is really viable. I think he's really strong. It's just that he does have very glaring weaknesses, and he doesn't have the luxury to miss. But I think he's solid. He's one of those characters that doesn't really need to be changed too much, or really at all. Rama. I think he's up here. Right about here. Right about here. Very strong hunter. Sobek. Again, same thing, A. Bottom of A, but A. Having anti-heal in your kit, a knock-up, a pull, and an execute with also a protection stem, he will never be bad. He will always be right here unless they nerf his kit. So unless they do that, he will always be right there. Soul. I don't think she's that good right now. Honestly. I don't think she's one of the worst in the game. But I think she's just right here. Susanoo. If you have the skill for him, which most people don't, he's like A. Roughly right about here. If you don't, he's still A. If you don't have the mechanical, he's still A, but he's right about here. Thanatos, B. Right here, B. The Morrigan, kind of hard to tell because she was disabled for a while. Yeah, I'm going to just change this to the Morrigan, because I still can't accurately put her on a tier list because of what her kit basically is. As a base character, she has stun, she has distant clear, and an invis or a teleport. So with just that alone, she's like here. But because she can turn into anybody on the team, depending on what you need, you can't really justify having her on a tier list. However, because she has that, she is one of the more versatile gods in the game. So it's like you're playing the Morrigan, but now she's playing Poseidon. You're playing the Morrigan, but for some reason she chose Hades. You're playing the Morrigan, but then she turned into Herc. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's okay. Thor, S tier. Aspect included. S tier. Right here. Right here. Thor's stupid. Uller. People might hate me for this. I don't think he's that good. He can single somebody out. Yeah, he's really good in a 1v1, but this isn't a 1v1 game. He can't really clear towers on his own because he's not an attack speed god. He is... He used up a lot of mana. He does need a bunch of cards to get online, and the other builds that you can do can get online quicker than him. You just have to be so mechanically sound with Uller that I don't think it's all that worth it. Vulcan! Him as a god didn't really get changed, but because of the card changes, he did get a little bit of a haze, kind of in the same boat with Kulkin. So I'm going to put him right here. Still a very, very strong god, but because you can't just have Pen off the Book of Thoth anymore, because some cards got nerfed down a little bit, he kind of got humbled a little, but he still has a knockup. He still does a crazy amount of damage. He has a knockup, 2 of them now at level 14, and he has something that gives him CDR, something that other gods don't have. So he's right about here. Yamojin. Very, very strong. The lifesteal build with this god is actually kind of insane because it just heals her to full from 1 HP. It's kind of crazy and funny. And I think she's very viable as a support, so I think she deserves to be right about here. Ymir. Funny jungle. Really solid support. Right around here. And then finally Zeus, B. Alright, but this is what I feel about the current meta of the game. And how I feel about OB8. This is my current tier list. Thank y'all for watching, and y'all take care.